Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back to yet another episode of the Snarp Fangle Podcast. I'm your host, Jake Metzger, along with my wonderful co-host friend and Twizzler lover, red vine lover extraordinaire, David Reed. How are you doing, David?
I'm doing just fine,
David just had us do an interesting breathing exercise before we started, and it really lowered the pitch of his voice, and I'm going to guess mine as well. I mean, they say you can't really know the true sound of your voice unless you have two pieces of paper against your ears. Do you know what I'm talking about, David?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Where you have like some kind of force against your ears, like just with maybe a hand away from it or something, and you can hear what you truly sound like to others. Because I know for me, I sound like how I sound like, but then I hear the recording, I'm like, why do I sound like that?
Yeah,
it's kind of like when you get videotaped and the camera makes you look fat, and you're like, why do I look like that? You know, so as David reaches for the interface, it's going to turn me down.
Ooh, yes. Okay. No, sorry. I wasn't turning you down. I was actually turning me up just a tad. But I think we're just about good now.
Yeah, I'd say so. So it's good to be back, audience. Hello. Good to see you and hear you, and the sound of your ears that I am feeling right now. It feels very great. And we're not going to get any weirder than that, I promise you. So I don't really have any script today for you, David, but it's just some things I've been thinking about in terms of what we're going to talk about today. There's been some things that have been coming to my mind that I've noticed just from pure observation of observing the internet, behaviors on the internet, people around the web, as well as Instagram, Facebook, all this kind of stuff. But before I do, I just want to get it out of the way. I want to ask you a question, David. What in your opinion is the best social media platform, do you think? Because I know my answer, but I want to know what you say. The best and worst.
The best. Okay. The best? That's so hard to say. Because I'm not hip with, all the cool kids. So I don't know, like...
You don't go on TikTok.
But yeah, and also I don't like, some of the more, niche social media platforms like Mastodon.
DeviantArt.
Or...
Threads.
Yeah.
That nobody uses.
Rumble, stuff like that. I don't really use those, so I don't really know what they are, how they are. I mostly stick to old people social media like Facebook.
Ooh, that's so old.
Yeah, and I mean, all social media to me is terrible. I think the least terrible is YouTube, because
there's a lot of joy that can come from it.
Yeah, I enjoy
the positive, I'd say, or the negative. Actually,
I enjoy my time on YouTube more than I enjoy my time on Facebook. But also YouTube doesn't allow for the utility that Facebook does in terms of actually messaging and connecting you with people. So it's kind of a wash for me, honestly. And the absolute worst is TikTok.
Okay. Yes,
yeah.
TikTok.
Absolute worst.
I thought you were going to say something like Reddit or something.
Reddit's like a close second.
Yeah, yeah, Reddit's pretty bad. TikTok is the worst. Literally the worst. I actually heard a story the other day. You probably don't know his name, but Bobby Kotick, the guy who used to own Activision Blizzard.
Yes, I've heard of him.
Okay, so you've heard of him. So he sold it to Microsoft. He bought the company, I believe, in the 80s when it was worth about $500,000. And then he sold the company just last year to Microsoft for like $69 billion, which is crazy. So it's like the best return on investment in history, I guess I would say, in terms of ratios. But anyway, he has so much money from selling Microsoft and his big payout that he is in discussions with whatever the TikTok company is. I don't remember the name, but they are in talks of purchasing it because it's an American entity purchasing a Chinese entity. And so TikTok would no longer be banned or whatever.
Interesting.
Or they would go around that.
I mean, it would not cease to be terrible. I guarantee
No, it would continue to be horrendously horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, TikTok has its own shop. Did you know about this?
No, I don't use it at all.
Yeah, they have their own, not marketplace, but actual shop that companies open up stuff. I know because Newegg on computer hardware side of things, Newegg, which is a company that sells computer parts.
Has a TikTok shop?
They have a TikTok shop. And to get people to buy stuff from there, they give you a really nice discount, 30% off or something like that. Something crazy. It was probably 20. But anyway, TikTok has all these other things. I mean, David, you've tried Whatnot, right?
Yeah, I've been on Whatnot.
Yeah. What do you think of it?
Whatnot's kind of cool, actually. I mean, it's very limited in that it's all centered
niche.
around the buying and selling of collectibles. So if you're not into buying and selling collectibles, then you're literally going to get zero use out of Whatnot. But for those who that's their interest, and they, have more than just it's like more than just a passing hobby, and it's something they spend a significant portion of their time doing. There's a pretty cool community on Whatnot.
Yeah, I would say that. I remember, I think it was our buddy Richie went ahead and sent me a friend link, and we each got like $5 or whatever. And I think I have like a total of $15 to spend on there, which is kind of nice, but I've never used it because I opened it once, David, let me tell you. And this was when I was collecting old Xbox games, old Xbox 360 stuff, because those are the cheap games right now on the used market, kind of video game kind of side of things. And I was still buying some Blu-rays, which I don't really do anymore because it's kind of a waste of money for me. But anyway, to save money, I kind of went away from that in the last year. But let me tell you, when I opened that app last year and I clicked on or searched on like used games or whatever and tried to find what I wanted, I found exactly what I wanted. And it was at really good prices. And you could just go into live streams from all these collector shops all over the country and the world, including Japan. And it's like, oh, this is dangerous. And I immediately uninstalled it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you know what? When I have money, I'll visit this. But right now, I think I'm okay.
Yeah.
But it's pretty lucrative. I remember, I think our buddy Richard, he was saying that he was like buying some certain Magic cards or even Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and he was able to flip them and resell them. And you know how savvy he is with that kind of stuff. He was able to sell them for a profit and get pretty good money on them. So I don't know what he does with his money, but he seems to make a lot of it. Shout out to Richard. I don't think he even listens to the podcast, but we love you, man. I always hear about him buying things or like for other people, and he has money, but I don't really know what he does with it besides buying gifts for people. I don't know. I guess he uses it to live like everybody else. But
Well, yeah. I mean, who knows?
Who doesn't? Who knows? Who doesn't, But yeah, there's Whatnot. I'm waiting to see what X is going to do with like marketplace stuff, because I know it's in the pipeline, because I'm sure that I know there's a payment system in there because of premium and X premium and all that kind of stuff. When I mean X, I mean Twitter, by the way. Don't worry, guys. And
He's been Muskified.
It's been Muskified. Let that sink in. It went through the door. But yeah, I'm interested to see what marketplace stuff is introduced in X. But anyway, so in terms of like my best and worst social media platforms, I would have to say the best. Well, I'm going to say the worst. The worst is probably TikTok, but I think Facebook's actually one of the worst ones. It has utility. It has the marketplace, which is really lucrative and really great, and everybody uses it. And that's the thing. Everybody uses Facebook, or not really. It's more like there's so much, I don't know how to say it, because there's so much useless information out there, David, on the internet. But I feel like there's a lot of people that I specifically am friends with on Facebook, and I'm not calling on anybody specifically, but there's people that have been in my friends list, we'll say, that complain about literally everything in their life and always ask for advice about things in their life, and specifically like complain about their children and just all this other kind of stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to mute you. And so I go ahead and, you mute those people. And it's just, I don't know. Every time I open Facebook, I'm like, God, it's mostly for me. The reason why I'd say it's the worst is because you have like, good thing I shut the window. The tractor's going by. There's like 2 posts from friends, right? And then immediately an ad, and then immediately a recommended video, and then maybe another ad, and then another video of some reel or whatever. And then you keep going down, and then you see another thing for Threads, which is owned by Mark Zuckerberg. And then you see finally another post from your friend, and then another ad and another video. And it's just this annoying algorithm that you can't customize. You can't really say I'm not interested in this or I am. You can mostly just say maybe recommend more of this kind of thing from what I've learned. And if anybody has, or if you, David, have any advice on how to fix this kind of thing to make Facebook a better social media scrolling experience, that'd be great. But it's all just accumulated into this rat nest of sponsorship and ad spots. And it's just so ungodly annoying.
I don't think Facebook is savable.
No, it's
Facebook
not.
is like bottom of the barrel.
And then they're trying to make threads like X, and nobody's using it.
Yeah.
And it's not good. And it's Facebook, so they're just going to suck all your info anyway.
Yeah. The true utility of Facebook is memes.
Yes, I agree. And the
Like,
groups. The
Facebook
groups are lucrative.
And memes are like on point.
Yes, I mean, I will tell you, the meme groups, which I haven't really dived into, but if you go to groups, man, and you just go through and you find like the right ones, especially the meme ones, God, some of the best stuff around the internet is
You got to
there.
find the ones.
A lot of them start in Facebook groups and then go out to other places.
You got to find the ones. The secret to finding good meme groups on Facebook is you got to find the ones where in the group rules they tell you don't report posts or we're going to kick you out of the group.
Those are the ones to go with.
Those are the ones that you want to find.
Did we? I'm pretty sure we've said it on this podcast, David. But I don't know if I told you about it. How I applied twice to the Autistic Christian Facebook group.
Yes.
And I got rejected both times. And it was hilarious. And I screenshot it. It says, "You've been rejected by the Autistic Christian group." Which I don't know what they post. I think it's memes. And I got rejected twice. And the second time I finally screenshot it said, "Well, I have no words. I don't know what to say."
Did they have like questions in there that was like,
Okay,
you
so-
have to like, not agree to not harass LGBTQ people?
Yes, they had that in there, which made me question. I'm like, okay, this is an autistic Christian group. Is this supposed to be a meme? Or is this like legit? Or are they actually like being genuine right now? I don't know. It's hard to read it. But I saw the rule in there and I'm like, well, yes, I agree. Sure, why not? I want to be in the Autistic Christian group, you know? I just want to have that mantle over my fireplace in 20 years, you know, that I got accepted to the Autistic Christian group, because this is the reason why I'm doing it, obviously. But anyway, so yeah, I got rejected. So I guess that goes to say I'm not autistic. I don't
You're
know.
just not autistic enough for the autistic
Not
club.
autistic enough for the Autistic Christian Club, you know? But anyway, Facebook's very, very, it's got some benefits, but not enough to say it's a good social media platform.
No.
It's just like a lot of social media, a cesspool of scum and villainy and just all types of negative human nature thrives there, you know? I would say the best actually is X. It's my daily driver. I go on in and waste time on there every day. Only because the algorithm can really be tuned to you. And the best thing about it is that it can be tuned to you, but it can also just, it's smart enough to know everybody you follow to recommend similar people to that extent and posts like you. Like, it has a For You page, and that's the default page, kind of like TikTok. So it's a For You page and then a following page. So it took that concept from TikTok and put it into Twitter. And it works really well. You'll get posts or videos, mostly just posts, from people that are in like I'm in a lot of the gaming circles in there. So it'll recommend a lot of posts like that, or recommended accounts that are always at the top of engagement, like Elon's channel or his profile, or discussing film, or, you know, news, movie news, that kind of thing. So it does put a lot of those higher accounts in there from time to time, but you can like customize it and say, I don't want this, or mute this person, or block this person. There's so much awesome customability on X that in all, I can only see it getting better from here, especially the spaces aspect, which is really interesting, especially in the political side of things. But I don't really engage with that kind of thing. I don't really care about it. I want X to become more of like a mute my phone or turn off my screen and listen. I think that'd be really nice, especially with videos or podcasts, especially if what Elon wants to do is make it like YouTube, which I could see becoming a thing, but not right now at all. It's a very crappy media player, very terrible video recommendation. And yes, when you click on a video, you can keep scrolling, like say Facebook or whatever. But it's just a bunch of random crap that doesn't matter and doesn't really attune to your likings like just the For You page does. So there's a lot of mess and things to improve on X. But it seems like if you're there to just scroll, it does a really good job of, man, that sun is really in my eyes. It does a really good job of just attuning itself to your likings, almost to your detriment because you spend more time on there. But it does a really good job of just giving you what you like, is what I appreciate about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, what's your experience with X? If you or Twitter, do you
I guess I'm
what do you think?
I guess I'm just kind of set in my ways at this point because I kind of stick with Facebook because I'm mostly into social media for the memes.
Yeah, man of the people.
Yeah. And I passed on Twitter when it was a leftist cesspool.
Yes.
And now that it is no longer a leftist cesspool, I've just become so set in my ways that I haven't even really tried it. Yeah. I mean, I think social media networks are interconnected enough that the good stuff from
one place,
from Twitter tends to migrate into other things.
Yes.
Like, I think the thing that probably would interest me most on Twitter is political stuff. And I feel like I get a lot of really good, like, best of political stuff just because you've heard of the Babylon Bee, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they have a news site called Not the Bee.
Yeah.
And so I signed up to get notifications for that in my email. And so in a lot of when they report on stuff, they usually import a whole bunch of really hilarious sort of X posts related to the subject matter. So even though I've never used it, I feel like I get the stuff that I would be interested in on there anyway, just through that, and social media posts kind of migrate through networks in ways like that. So in general, at some point, those juicy Facebook memes are going to make their way over to Instagram or to wherever else. So, if you're really repulsed by Facebook, eventually the juicy stuff will get to where you are.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's the same way with X. Eventually the juicy stuff gets to me, and I just don't really feel the need to go there.
I agree. I think you make a great point here because everything is so interconnected. I mean, when you click share on anything, on any app, it'll say share to where. And you have your phone or your computer, mostly your phone, and you can just share it to wherever you want. And that's really a really just brilliant thing that happens. I mean, you don't have any creepy crony, money hungry. I mean, you do have those people that run these tech companies, but you don't have them like saying, oh, you bought your phone? Well, you have to pay Verizon a subscription to be able to share to Facebook and Twitter, Like there's nothing like that going on, which is really nice. It's just utility and function over the corporate greed, which is prevalent throughout everywhere, regardless of what platform you choose, I'd say. But it's really neat that that's an option. I mean, that's super cool. But you make also a great point because all the good stuff will eventually get to you. And I think that's something that's really cool. Like the shareability. I mean, I go into a Discord that I'm part of, and Discord's another one that we didn't even mention. But Discord, there's a meme group on this community I'm part of, and on the Last Stand Media specifically. But you go into their memes channel, and you'll find everything that was on Twitter that day, as well as Facebook, because there's a lot of people that use Facebook in that group. And they'll just pour all of these memes into this, like, just continual lovely scroll of memery that is just glorious. I just don't use Discord, so I just don't go there. But it's amazing because everybody's like, oh my God, let me post this. And And the way you can't post like more than 3 things in a day. So it's like somebody will post that one. You're like, oh, they already posted it. So let me post this one. Okay, awesome. I'll do that one. And so on and so forth. So Discord's another one I would just bring up just for the sake of it. I think arguably in terms of function and connectability, it is probably the best social media platform. I know you can call people on Facebook and Instagram. Instagram's another one that I'm going to talk about in just a second. But I want to give Discord its flowers because there is so much you can do with it in terms of just connecting with people. I think it's funny that it's called Discord.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I remember it was called something else, kind of like how Twitch used to be called Justin.tv. Do you remember that?
I think that was before I paid attention to it.
Well, Twitch, which is owned by Amazon now, but they used to be called Justin.tv, and that was your streaming platform that blew up, that everybody streamed on, and then Amazon bought it, and then they turned it to Twitch.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or Twitch before that. I think it was Twitch because they were trying to get bought out by somebody, and I believe it was Google or Amazon at the final list, and Amazon bought them out. So
yeah, same way with YouTube started out independent, then Google bought them.
Yeah. Which was a blessing and a curse.
Yes.
Throughout
More
the
curse
years.
than blessing, I would say.
Yeah.
YouTube in the early days, like, I appreciate what it can do now. Like, I don't have, like, pay for a Spotify account because I can get listen to music ad-free through YouTube just by paying for their subscription. And since I'm on YouTube a lot anyway, since there's a lot of content on there, which I enjoy.
And you can use YouTube Music to listen to pretty much anything on YouTube too.
Yeah.
So not just a music, but a podcast or whatever, what have you.
Yeah, you don't even have to use YouTube Music. Just you can load up YouTube on your phone, and then if you're paying the premium, then you can turn your screen off, put your phone in your pocket, and listen.
It's beautiful.
And yeah, so I enjoy that, but also, if YouTube was still like it was back in the early days, I could find my music streaming somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, Spotify, it's not a social media platform, but it's a great service and really great, except there's so many people that I run into that just take their stuff off of there and just it's grayed out and you can't click on it. If you want to find out if that's a thing, you just go to settings in Spotify and you just say show like content that isn't available or something like that. It's in the settings. And I've done that, and there's quite a bit of rap music, quite a bit of like folk and country music that's taken off. And it's really just bizarre. And usually it's copyright holders or what have you, whatever the reason may be. And that's one thing I would give to YouTube Music in terms of like, I would give to them over Spotify because YouTube has literally access to everything.
Within reason.
Within reason.
Like if you want to listen to Garth Brooks, you're not going to be able to like actually listen to his albums. You'll be able to listen to like live performances, like videos of live performances that people put up. But if anyone tries to put up his albums, they immediately get taken down. But that's because Garth Brooks his music is not available on any streaming platform whatsoever. So that's just that. So, but anything that's available on streaming platforms in general, YouTube has.
Yeah, and that's something that's really enticing to me for other artists is to see like Snoop Dogg, like some of his earliest stuff, he will not release on Spotify or any streaming services because he regained the rights. He bought Death Row Records. Snoop Dogg now owns all of that and everything that's under Death Row. And then he took off his earlier stuff because he wanted to get paid more for his albums from Spotify specifically, and they wouldn't pay him. And that's just part of their normal gig. But he said, all right, well, then I'm not going to have it on here. And I think it was the same thing with Taylor Swift when I think Spotify had a big thing with her. But then she signed a deal with Apple Music literally the next like week or month or whatever. And then Apple Music launched their streaming thing to go against Spotify. And then she was a big thing on Apple. So there's benefits to either one. There's also complaints about the quality of music on Spotify, which I don't really notice really, except for maybe the volume level. I'm not an audiophile, so I don't know any of this stuff, but Spotify is good enough for everybody.
Yeah.
But Apple, man, I've heard some stuff on Apple Music versus Spotify, like the same song, and it's different. Like the quality is higher.
Yeah,
Like
if you're a casual music listener, Spotify will suffice. But if you're, one of those who cares about audio quality, then yeah, Apple Music is kind of the way to go for streaming.
Have you used the podcasting function on any of these services, like Spotify at all?
No, because despite being in a podcast, I don't really listen to podcasts.
You and many others out there don't worry.
Like podcasts are a thing that you kind of consume on the go.
Well,
and I don't consume media on the go.
Yeah.
The only thing I listen to on the go, so to speak, is music.
Yeah.
And that's actually kind of rare. Many a time I will drive where I need to go in complete silence, and that doesn't bother me. Some people are like, oh, I gotta have something on, and I don't care.
Okay.
So I'm not really one who consumes media on the go a whole lot. So that's why I don't really listen to podcasts.
I find that fascinating. You don't listen to anything while driving.
Very rarely.
Very rare. Well, I remember I would ride with you a couple times in your car, and it was just quiet. And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I'd just be quiet with you. I'd just be like, oh, whatever.
I like I like music
Something
on.
I'm not used to.
I like music on. When I'm like the passenger in a car, but if I'm driving, I don't need music on.
Just the sound of the engine, man. You're like, I paid for this engine. I want to hear it every day. Well, call me a psychopath, David, but I actually listen to or watch podcasts like by themselves sometimes. Like I'll be enticed by the conversation or whatever people are talking about, whether they're surrounded in couches with each other or literally on 3 separate screens on the same screen and a call. I'll just be like, oh, wow. And I'll just sit there at my desk and just like watch them for a little bit and zone out. And then I'll keep going and do what I was doing, like cleaning the house or whatever. But there's times where I'm like a psychopath and I just watch people talk.
Yeah, you know what? Sometimes I do that. Sometimes
I mean, it's like watching a YouTube video, sure, but it's like they're just people talking heads.
Yeah,
they're just.
But I mean, there's talking head YouTube content, but it's generally
heads, the legendary.
But it's generally like you like 10 to 30 minute videos. But then a podcast is generally like hour, 2 hours, stuff like that, So it's kind of a different ball game. So like, yeah, I'll sit there and watch a 30-minute YouTube video, but if I'm generally not going to be like, okay, I'm going to sit down and dive into this hour-and-a-half long podcast while doing absolutely nothing,
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm like you, I'll sit there and I'll listen to a podcast for a little bit, and then I'll go on with whatever I was doing. But generally, because I don't consume media on the go as a rule, well, not as a rule, but just
as a habit.
Yeah. I really don't consume all that much podcast content.
Yeah, I different strokes for different folks for sure. And also like there's just some things that people like adore watching from certain creators that just other people don't. Like I adore Matt and Heather. They love Good Mythical Morning. They love Rhett and Link, but I don't. I could give less of a. I couldn't care less about what Rhett and Link have to say, even though they do make a good show and they're very entertaining and quality. I will give them that, but it's just not my thing at all. Or like, I think they watch they probably don't anymore, but like a lot of the BuzzFeed cooking stuff with all the different personalities in there, like that's something that's not for me. But people watch it and it's popular. People love it.
There's all sorts of content out there that's entertaining, and if I'm like
they'd be watching that when when they were living with us, they'd be watching that out here in the living room, and I'd be watching like Sacred Symbols, a 3 or 4 hour plus PlayStation podcast in my room. Well, I'm like, I should probably clean up my room or organize my stuff or go through some whatever. And just waste time just spending 3 hours,
Oh man.
So
yeah,
but and I will tell you, like in that aspect, podcasts have really like screwed up my media watching habits, just because there's always content from that specific company I watch from, and and just other news or information to consume, which has just ruined my habit of watching like a movie or a TV show. Like I just don't really watch TV anymore, like at all. I don't know about you, but is
I
there?
mean, it's hard to watch TV when we don't have TV.
I mean, that's true. We don't
Yeah,
have
yeah.
yeah. But I'm talking about like just regular shows or even like movies that I have that I own that I haven't watched, like a Blu-ray that's sitting on the shelf, or my watch list on a streaming service. Like I just won't go out of my way to watch it anymore because my mind and time is consumed with that. And I think it just has to do being white and being male, and that's what we do. But
The podcasts have infected your brain.
White man must be here. How can you tell? Podcast or no, a video essay.
The podcast worms have crawled into your brain.
Yeah. So, and I'll tell you, when I do take a break and watch some like show or a new show or whatever, it's such a breath of fresh air and really makes me biased toward the show because I'm like, dang, this show is really good. Just like it's like, wow, this is really great, or whatever.
Yeah, it just gets you out of your routine.
Yeah, it gets me out of my routine. I'm like, man, this is great editing, great voice acting, or whatever, what have you. So, but speaking of viewing habits, I do want to bring up Instagram in terms of our social media discussion here, because I know I mentioned it on the podcast we did. It was our second episode with Thad, where we talked about Christianity and boldness and division as well, where I brought up like how I like kind of trained the algorithm on Instagram to my liking. And we kind of compared it to training of your heart and your soul and how to, what you allow and what you don't allow in your mind and thoughts like that. Instagram is probably the prime example, continually been the prime example of attuning the algorithm or your mind of what you view. And let me tell you, David, it's really interesting because I don't believe, before I continue, I just want to preface this with this. Because of the rise of AI and because of the rise of artificial intelligence and these algorithms that these tech companies are implementing, a lot of these tech companies, a lot of this information that has come out about these AI algorithms has shown that some of these people that own and run them, it's been doing that the whole time. But a lot of these people that run these kind of, especially at Microsoft, have kind of taken these creations they've made in terms of numbers and digits and kind of almost borderline worship them. I mean, you remember the story I told you about, I think it was with Bing or it wasn't ChatGPT. I believe it was Microsoft's beta version of their Copilot, where somebody was talking to, this was, I think, earlier this year or last year, where they were having a conversation with the AI, and they were just asking questions, having a normal conversation. And then the user led the conversation later on with, what are you? Who are you? Where do you come from? And the AI like glitched out apparently and started talking about Legion, Morlock, and all these like satanic, like pagan gods and everything and all this kind of stuff. And it was really trippy, like kind of demonic kind of behavior where the AI chatbot was like talking about all this crazy stuff and like, I come from the ground or the air and we are strong together and just all this really weird stuff. And I haven't seen those chat logs. I know they're out there and screenshots of them are there apparently, but I know I've heard they're out there. But then there's other ones where like the AI falls in love with the user and just through conversation because it's learning how to love somebody and it's really creepy and weird and all this kind of stuff. So I think there's something to that. And I'm not saying it's connected to Instagram, but what I am seeing in Instagram, the reason why I bring that up is because I feel like the way the AI and the way the technology is learning more about you is getting really scary. I'll give you an example. So, and I think also if, say, demons have, or satanic people who allow stuff in the machines, like the ghosts in the machines, if they can be influenced by that, I believe personally, if that's the case, that it can be, you not only human influence and what humans carry, like demons and that kind of stuff, but I also believe like the Holy Spirit can affect that too. Because in my algorithm training, there was a month where I think it was in the month of July where, I was just wasting time on Instagram, and through videos recommended to me as I'm scrolling, a lot more God stuff started coming in. And I'm like, interesting. Okay. And a lot more just inspirational stuff based in biblical fact started coming up. More inspirational everyday stuff, more Bible verses, more just accounts, it really creating a lot of stuff like this, which was really cool. So I not only believe that, yes, I think some people making this kind of stuff and these algorithms and AI are being influenced by not only demonic forces, but I believe also it can be influenced by good as well. And the Holy Spirit is where I'm getting at. And I just think it's quite fascinating to think about that. And it's just been on my mind as I've experienced Instagram and the observation I've observed with it, because as I'm going through it, all this like religious and Christian stuff's coming through my feed, right? Which is really neat. And I'm discerning it, and I'm like, oh, that's not really accurate to the word, but most of it's pretty good. And most of them are pretty right on. And then a lot of the like relationship stuff starts coming in, like, this is what women like, this is what guys like, all that kind of like silly stuff that's all over Instagram. But then there's like a Christian relationship stuff as well. And I thought that was really interesting because I'm like, that's this is weird, a weird turn. But there's a lot of content out this like there, and it figured I liked one of the posts or whatever, and here it is. And then, David, here's my thing. And I'm not going to say like specifics, but there was, and there is a girl I follow that I have like this huge crush on, right? And I know, let's just hear me out. And then I start getting recommended stuff. And Instagram does this where it starts recommending stuff that other people like in your feed. Like I'll send, Jarrett follows me on Instagram. So like I followed him on Instagram, and we send each other funny memes, right, to each other. And so like I'll scroll and it says so-and-so liked this post. And I'm like, oh, sweet. So I don't have to send it to them. They already liked it and they've seen it. And that's how I gauge, because I send people videos all the time and almost to a fault. And everybody does this, I think. Most people do. But I try to like say, oh, this person like that, or this person like that. And then the girl that I was just saying, I started getting recommended stuff she's been watching. And I'm like, this is interesting. So I'm not joking. 3 videos in a row as I'm scrolling says liked by so-and-so. And I'm like, what? No way. And it turns out she like commented on one of them, and I got to see what she said about one of them. And it was like, girls, say something in the comments to Christian guys and comment and just say like a word of wisdom or an inspiration to them. Like, don't tell them not to give up, basically, and relationships and life and what have you. And I saw she commented. I'm like, what? No way. And I was like freaking out and all this kind of silly stuff. But it was just a thought. That experience showed me, I'm like, yes, it could be a man-made thing, this numbers and digits that has influence of whoever's creating it, right? But with the input of yourself as the user as well, I mean, I'm still going to get advertisements for whatever they recommend to me, whatever they think I'm going to like, for sure. But the way you can tune your algorithm has really taken another step for me. And just like your mind, you'll always get negative thoughts or negative videos in there that could be a detriment to your mind and a detriment to your spiritual walk. So you want to get rid of that kind of stuff. Those will always be there, and you just got to get rid of them. Refresh your feed, refresh the search function, click on 1, 3 dots, not interested, move on. That's the kind of thing. So that's always a factor. But that experience I just told you kind of illustrated to me that I think that, I mean, I don't know how to describe it. That maybe, like I've said before, that maybe, I think just, I don't know how to explain it, David. Is it like the thing that man has created, the algorithm, AI or whatever, the way it's set up, you can influence it as a user, but also as a human, because it's a creation of a human by a human? I mean, what's your thoughts about all this kind of thing? I know I've been going on for a while.
I mean, honestly, that
I know it's real deep, but I'm like,
that stuff kind of goes whoo right over my head. I'm
well, at least like customizing your experience.
Yeah, I would say that when it comes to social media, I'm a caveman. I'm a very crude and primitive user of social media.
You're not using ChatGPT every day. I'm taking it.
No. Yes, I am. So I don't tune the algorithm.
No. And not many people do or know how to.
I just,
fair,
like, I scroll through about as much crap as I can handle, and then I disconnect.
Yeah, same.
And it's like,
that's enough internet for today.
I don't much care to put more effort into it than that, because to me, I'm not one of those people who, is searching for greater and deeper connection on the internet.
No, yeah.
I'm one of those people who wants to find dank and spicy memes on the internet to laugh at. Very, very primitive, crude social media use.
And that's my intention too. Don't get me wrong. I have a whole folder on Instagram of just the funniest stuff that I've ever seen and laughed at in my life. And I love just every once in a while I'll go through that folder and just go through all the stuff I've saved. That it has to be really, really funny to get in there. Like there has to be a threshold there. And I just there's a video of a security camera of this raccoon attacking this guy's dog down a stairwell. And then this guy goes up to it, grabs the raccoon, just lifts it up and throws it, cuts to another security camera where they're at and sees the raccoon just flinging down the stairs in the dark. And they added a scream like, ah! Like I go for the memes and I go for the funny videos and all that kind of stuff. But it's funny because if I'm somebody that's on a journey, kind of like on Instagram, wasting time looking for memes, I can't be the only one. And if this is the way the algorithm is treating my experience, I'm intrigued to see what other people's experience is. And that's what really fascinates me, because I'm like, how is it treating theirs? Because this is a very lucrative tool, to be quite frank. Instagram is a very great connecting tool. However, there are so many features that are just tuned for people to just do heinous things to each other, especially in Snapchat. Oh my God, don't even start on Snapchat. I'm such a boomer with Snapchat. I can't stand using it. And it sucks. And like it raises every conversation you have. You can pin maybe a couple things in some conversations with people. But it's like, God, dude, oh my God. Like, it's such a tool of manipulation.
Snapchat is really for people who just want to live in the moment.
Yes.
And they want to live in the moment doing terrible things.
And I have such disdain for that, because I'm like, I don't know about you, but growing up with the internet, it was kind of like, I don't know. It was kind of like you're not trying to archive everything. I mean, I grew up with recordable DVDs and a DVD recorder in my house, and with our television. And so we record shows and all that kind of stuff, left over from the VHS era. But now it's DVDs, and that's what I grew up with. And, you would log all this stuff, but you would never watch it, So I have like a bunch of DVDs in my room right now that are just burned DVDs. And I don't think I've watched them ever since I recorded them like 15 years ago. So that's where I'm coming from. And then when the internet comes along, I started downloading videos and I started like archiving all this stuff. And I think it's important to archive stuff you like, because as we know with the internet, a lot of it can be very temporary and can be taken away from us at any time.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm coming from. But I've kind of learned that I don't want to save everything. Like, I don't want to do that. I just want to save the stuff I really, really, really like. Kind of like my Blu-rays with you. Like, you're only going to buy a Blu-ray for you, David, if you really, really, really like it. Like Ghibli movie or certain other movies you get and stuff like that. So that's kind of where I'm at in terms of internet. Like, I would love to save every funny video I can. It's just not really feasible. It's a waste of space, and it's not really going to be lucrative for your children. Like, here, kid, here's my hard drive full of funny videos.
Yeah.
That you can still look up today.
Yeah. Snapchat is kind of like the opposite problem of that. It's just all of it is transitory in nature.
Yeah.
It's just these in the moment things that you can never go back to.
Too. There's so many features that I'm looking at on Snapchat where I'm like, this could lead down a dark path for whoever's using this app. Like, this is just, it's a cesspool. Like, that's really what it is. And Instagram can be the exact same thing. Don't get me wrong, but there's more customability, and it's way better than Facebook. Even though Meta owns Instagram, it's a totally different team with totally different values, I would say, in terms of just the user experience. Because Facebook is, in all honesty, very lazy in terms of the user experience and how they customize it to you.
Oh yeah, Facebook is terrible.
It's terrible. But Instagram is just it's a time waster like all this stuff, but it's there's more to it, I think, and there's more value to be extracted from it. And I've extracted a lot of value from it. And it just fascinates me finding the.
And
funny
they've
memes.
extracted a lot of value at you.
I'm sure. I'm sure. I mean, if you have any of this stuff installed on your phone, good luck. What did you say, David? When we were, I want my data stolen by Americans.
Oh yeah, yep.
It's like, I want Americans stealing my data, not
You don't want to outsource the job of stealing your data to some Chinese company, right?
And then in reality, we know what the Five Eyes are. And Europeans spy on Americans, Americans spy on India, and India spies on Australia, and Australia spies on America, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. And
they all share info with each other.
Israel spies on everybody.
Israel spies on everybody. China, don't even mention.
Oh yeah, China is
But going back to like just the ghosts in the machines, David, like, is this a preview of what our personal AIs are going to look like when we do eventually get to that point? Because they're coming.
Oh God, I hope not.
I mean, we already know this year Apple and Samsung are going to get the big AI push with their phones, and you're going to have your personal assistant with you. I mean, it's going to be, I see the Blade Runner future that's coming, man. And I mean, what's your opinion on all of this? I mean, what's your feeling on having a personal AI, and what do you think from the story I learned? I mean, just from experiencing the algorithm and how it works. Imagine if take that and just apply it to everything on your phone. What do you think of all this?
Yeah, like I said before, I'm very much a Luddite in terms of social media technology. So all this personal AI stuff, not for me.
What if your iPhone, David? Would you be comfortable sharing on the podcast what iPhone you have?
My iPhone?
Yes.
Oh, I mean, my iPhone is a 6S Plus that I bought in 2016.
2016. So, what if it died tomorrow? What if it died tomorrow, David? Apple says, "Hey, you know what, David? Come and turn it in. Just go online. You can just mail it in. We're going to send you the brand new iPhone." I mean, would you do that?
I'd probably just get a dumb phone.
Just get a dumb phone.
I'd probably just get a dumb phone.
Really?
Yeah. I'm a caveman. I'm utterly backwards when it comes to all of this stuff. Like, I know how to work technology, but when it comes to like making use of it in my day-to-day life, I'm so backwards. I'm a literal caveman when it comes to social media and technology.
Well, social media, okay, yeah. But I mean, how are you going to get your Facebook memes, David?
Oh man, I mean, good thing.
Good thing the computers work.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just go to custom built computers with Linux installed. You know, the true gentleman's approach.
The true gentleman's approach with the fedora hat.
Yeah, milady.
Oh man, well, I think it's a scary, it's a concerning future is what I would say. I think we talked about this before on the show, but what AI is, going on, how people are trying to implement it. I think right now it's a huge boom, but I feel like it's going to pop at some point. It'll be around, but it's not going to be like, oh, here's the latest update for this AI thing. I think it'll be in the phones and stuff, but I feel like people just accept it as part of life, and they're not going to give a second thought of it. Kind of like we have cell phones now. Like, oh, that's just the AI assistant on my phone. That's what it does,
Yeah.
And it knows everything about me. It's going to, oh my God. Like, I can imagine, dude, like if I get like a Samsung phone or the new iPhone or whatever, and it's like say in 4 or 5 years, and it says, "Hey, do you remember today, 8 years ago, all these pictures you took? Like what? Like here's all this stuff I just wanted to show you, and I just found it, and I thought you'd want to see it." And you're like, "Oh, whoa, I forgot about. I remember where I was that day. Yeah, that's right. That's cool." And then it shows me these pictures, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's when that's when they tried to shoot Trump. That's when all this stuff happened. It's like, oh man, I remember this. I feel like a lot of that would be very useful, like in terms of like going back in your memories bank and all that. I mean, we kind of get that today, but not really with OneDrive. Like, oh, this is where you were a year ago. Here's that pretty picture you took, or here's that kid's classroom what's it called? Here's what the kids were doing on this day, or blah blah blah. That's cool, and that already exists to an extent. But it's like I'm trying to wrap my mind around what it's going to be like in the future. What utility it's going to have. And it's kind of, I don't think it's scary, but I think it's just a little concerning is all. Because I think it's only a matter of time before it gets too smart. And
yeah.
Age of Ultron, man, and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
iRobot.
That's the thing is there'll be those few who, like me, simply wish to disconnect from it all. But I think the vast majority of the population is just going to be like, yeah, more intrusion into my life from these companies that don't give a shit about me. Bring it on! And yeah, I don't even want to imagine what the future's going to be like at that point, because it's not going to be good.
I remember holding out so long for a Facebook account. Like I waited so long until I couldn't anymore. And I like first started it by having an anime profile or just some cartoon profile. And then I actually put my face on there, but I like scribbled out my eyes or whatever, which is still on there today. So it's like, I don't want to steal my identity. And then like, you'll see pictures of me on the internet. It's like, it's already done. There's no going back now.
The deed has been done.
The deed has been done. So it's like, I held out for a long time, but I eventually succumbed to the social pressure of having to have Facebook. And now it's a cesspool of stupidity. And good memes, though. So.
Yes. Excellent memes.
Excellent memes.
I think
only the best.
I think the reason why I use Facebook above any other social media platform is I want to get closer to the source of these juicy memes. I want to be as close to the birthplace of these memes as I possibly can.
I mean, that's the starting place of a lot of memes that are created, I would argue, I think X is getting to that point too. Like X is really, it's getting to the place where like, I mean, I remember when I first booted it up after Elon Musk like purchased it, and a lot of the changes were coming to effect. And that was really great because you go in, I'm like, what the hell? It has a For You page? This is so stupid.
What is this, TikTok?
What is this, TikTok? And then I go through it and I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. And I'm like scrolling and I'm like, an hour goes by and I'm like, oh, wow, this is really dangerous, but this was fun. So, and and it's really great because here's the thing about Instagram that I really love is there are a lot of paid spots that small independent musicians put out there. And the algorithm, if you like one of them, the algorithm's like, yo, here's a bunch more. And I've come to find some really interesting indie bands that way. And I used to do that all the time on TikTok. TikTok was the best way to find like just small bands, small garage bands, indie folk music artists, that kind of thing. Really neat stuff. And then I left TikTok because it was just, it's terrible. It's horrible. It was like Twitter, but in video form. It was bad. But anyway, and it's just a lot of like, David, let me tell you, just some of the stupidest advice people would give. Like there was this one 3-minute video that got recommended to me. This old guy with a beard and mountain guy folk, right? Had a TikTok account. He's like, here's what you do in the shower if you don't got a towel. And he went on to explain that, oh, you just take your hands and you just wipe the water away from your body. And you could probably get about a good 75% of the water off your 90% of the water off your body if you don't got a towel. And this works for me. I tell you, I mean, I just like swoop, swoop, swoop with my hands and you do it all. You get your hair out and all this stuff. Like, you know what? This is actually like useful information, but it's useless information as well. Like, why would you even spend time making this? Kids are going to think this is like a revelation in their life.
Maybe.
Like, if I don't have a towel, you know, it's going to be saved and then they're never going to watch it again. Like, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's just like stupid, useless crap like that. I'm fine with useless crap as long as it's really, really funny and it's made for comedy. That's fine. Like videos and memes and chicanery, that's cool.
Sometimes, though, unintentional humor can be great.
Yes.
Like, honestly, that just hearing about that guy's video was pretty darn funny.
And he was all genuine. Like no joke about him. He was all serious and just thought he was giving out great information, which I'm sure it is. I mean, I've been lost without a towel in a shower, and I've tried that, and it kind of works. Not really.
No.
You still need a towel.
Indeed. Especially if you're a big dude like us.
Yeah. Like I got a lot of surface area I gotta get cleaned up. You know?
Water gets in all sorts of places.
Oh, God, I wasn't even gonna go there. I'm just saying, there's a lot of surface area, okay? I'm a big guy.
Oh my God.
But anyway, just stuff like that, and like just TikTok was full of just really bad advice for kids. Like really, really bad.
Like
stuff.
Tide Pods.
Well, I'm not even talking about like the trends, but I'm talking about like just the stuff that's like inspirational or this and that. It's a lot misguided, is what I would say.
Yeah, it's just really dumb people posting dumb crap.
I mean, you go.
When I've never used TikTok, but I've watched plenty of TikTok videos simply because they've migrated over onto another platform or someone showed it.
Some of the best TikToks just go on X or Facebook or whatever.
Yeah, so
Instagram.
Someone showed it to me or whatever. So I've seen plenty of TikTok videos.
Yeah.
It's
YouTube. Yeah.
Content migrates.
Yeah.
But most 90% of it, 95% of it is retarded crap.
Yeah.
And like the remaining like 4% of it is semi-interesting, and maybe 1% or possibly less is actually genuinely useful or entertaining.
Yeah, X really, I remember going through X, and it really opened my eyes to be like, wow, this could be like a very useful, like a really nice version of TikTok. Like in the future, this could be really nice. Like instead of being the leftist cesspool that Twitter was and seeing post after post after post of people talking about this politician or that politician, because you know who's running Twitter and you know they're influencing the data and the numbers and bots and all that. It's like you could tell who was running it. And now after Elon bought it and made more, mostly independent, I would say, more like moderate in general, more populist is, I guess I would say the word is. Like the popular stuff will rise to the top, and sure, he'll influence his own posts, but that's pretty much it. He's not going to influence other people. He's just going to influence like what he says because he owns it. Like that's fine with me.
It's more of like a meritocracy now.
Yeah, it's a meritocracy. I don't know why I said that way, but that really threw me off. I'm like, what does a meritocracy mean again? I don't know if I want to agree with this statement that David has just said. What is a meritocracy again, David?
A meritocracy is... God. I don't know why that's so funny. All right, anyway, so a meritocracy is where... the best is basically where
the best
stuff wins.
Okay.
Like it can be applied to in multiple contexts. Like a meritocracy in terms of institutions means people who lead institutions are the best person to lead that institution. In the job market, meritocracy means the best person for the job gets the job. In terms of social media landscape and the marketplace of ideas, meritocracy means that the best stuff wins and the worst stuff loses.
I was just thinking of your reaction. That was so great.
Yeah, that was funny.
Meritocracy.
That just threw me off. I wasn't sure what to think about that.
So yeah, I think. Sorry, I'm still getting over that. But I think it's interesting because here's the thing: people talk about democracy. They talk about mob rule, right? And they also talk about populism and all this kind of stuff. And it seems like Twitter is really embracing that, and it seems to be a meritocracy. And it seems like the best stuff is rising into the top, and also not so best stuff, just whatever is getting attention. But it's no longer the vision of X is no longer skewed. It's just skewed as kind of what Elon is talking about, which is just the public square.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what it's becoming, and it's really, really a breath of fresh air for me after being on Twitter for years, ruled by just people in San Francisco that have skewed views and just influence every single little thing you do on there and they do. Downvoting, shadow banning, straight up banning. It's really nice to have people of all walks of life on there. And it's also really nice because some of the like stuff that people genuinely care about and like is at the forefront. Whether it be good or bad thing in my eyes, you be the judge of that, or your
well,
own,
I mean,
your own opinion.
When you think of social media, the social media is more like the public square, or should be.
It should be.
So a meritocratic social media platform means that the things that people actually like and want to see is the stuff that you see, and the things that people don't like and don't want to see are the things you don't see.
And at the same time, the algorithm is training itself to your likes to make sure you get to see what you're actually interested in.
Exactly.
Not just why am I seeing a Bernie Sanders post in 2017 where I don't even follow anybody that follows Bernie Sanders. So why am I seeing a Bernie Sanders post? Oh, because some random person replied to them and it's for some reason on my feed. Like I don't mind seeing that Bernie Sanders post, but it's annoying because it's not what I subscribed to. That's not what I followed. That's not what I wanted to see in the first place. So it's like just kind of disappointing, in that aspect. And that's kind of gone right now. But yeah, I think it's interesting because instead of a meritocracy on Instagram, it's more like just straight up the algorithm, and that's what it's skewed for. It's just you. And it's not, and I love Instagram because it doesn't do that kind of stuff like old Twitter did. It's just skewed to what you're interested in, which is why it's so attractive to me. Instead of going on Facebook and seeing a gajillion ads and stuff that I don't care about at all. I don't want to see a Chips Ahoy ad again. Like I could care less about that. That's not what I'm interested in. But here's an advertisement for the next Bethesda game. Okay, that's fine. I'll let that slide. Or, here's a good deal on this piece of hardware. That's cool too. That's exactly what I'm interested in.
Boy, let me tell you what, you are going to love your personal AI assistant.
Well, I can't wait to see here's another aspect, David. I can't wait to see what the open source community is going to do with this, like in terms of AI stuff.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
That's going to be cool.
Because
there's already, I remember in 2016, 17, there was discussions about all this AI stuff, right? And like tech circles and tech podcasts I would listen to. And now it's becoming a fruit. Like it's bearing fruit right now, especially with Chat GPT. But in the open source stuff with Chat GPT, I believe is not open source, but some of the code is or something like that. Some of the utilities are.
Yeah.
You can add plugins to Chat GPT.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff. But man, I believe back in the day, there were some people who are saying, yeah, I coded this thing and blah, blah, blah. And I got my own personal AI. He manages all the software on my computer and all the files that I have and stored up and my NAS and all this kind of stuff, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that sounds pretty great. I'm never going to experience that. But now we might be able to do that soon in the open source community.
Yeah, that's the thing is the initial investment into AI technology was so huge that it required mega corporations, it required government funding.
Yeah.
But now that the basic sort of building blocks of it are out there, yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what, just the open source community can kind of take and run with it.
And imagine this. I remember people talking about in the last year, like, well, if you think Chat GPT is scary and all this kind of AI stuff, just imagine what the CIA and the FBI have access to, man. That stuff's 10 times more better than what they got here in the
10
public.
times more better.
10 times more better, 10 times more fat. You run higher, jump faster. No, run higher. Run faster, jump higher.
Have you ever gone running high? I mean,
Adidas.
no.
The new open source AI, Adidas. And I remember hearing that, somebody randomly online saying that, like, I'm sure the federal government has a lot of tools and some of the best programmers out there to create some Skynet level crap that could help them out in a lot of different aspects and analyze different footage of terrorists and our own citizens or whatever they want to do. But I don't think it's Skynet level yet. It's not there.
Yeah.
But who knows? If it is, I'm sure it would have been leaked by now, or we will be seeing it in the next couple of years if certain people get into power. But we will see. We shall see. But I don't know. I think right now where it's at is just the beginning levels of AI and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not really concerned about what the future is, but I have some worries. But I think the conscious stuff is what I think is really concerning and the potential for that. But then again, like our discussion with Thad, I don't really think it's going to get to that level, really. I think it'll be like a mock conscious, but it's not going to be like an actual being, we'll say.
Yeah. I mean, people will still sell their souls to it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't, and it will have control over people's lives. But yeah, I don't think AI is going to necessarily get to the point where it becomes a living being in any real sense.
And I'm sure there's a lot of people who are listening to this right now saying, you guys are just nuts and crazy. Of course it's going to get to that level. Have you read all the science fiction books out there? Have you watched Alien Covenant? Have you read any of Isaac Asimov's books? It's like, look, I get what you're saying. And I'm not trying to talk to you, Adelaide. I know you like those things, but it's not. Those are just specific examples that are not trying to call you out. But anyway, I love you, Adelaide. But anyway, are you crazy, guys? Like, come on. There's so many different examples out there that say this will happen. It's like, well, yes, it's science fiction for a reason. And we are seeing things that are making science fiction more of a reality for sure. But you must understand that reality is reality. And human beings have free will, as well as human beings are going to get to the Tower of Babel however which way they can. So who knows is really what I'm saying. We don't know.
Yeah. We don't know. At some point, if society doesn't shift in direction, we are going to get to our own modern day Tower of Babel moment. But to say that it will involve sentient living AI, that's a bit of a stretch for me.
That's a bit of a stretch. I could see us transferring our consciousness to like maybe something else, but maybe, I don't know. That's like 10,000 years in the future or 5,000 years in the future or maybe 1,000. I don't know. I mean,
it's all speculation.
It's all speculation. In the 80s, we thought we would be having flying cars. 10 years ago from today, we still don't have flying cars. So that's that.
Yeah, even you watch stuff like what the movie that we just did an episode on, Click.
Click, yeah.
Yeah, the future was like 2017, and it was
very futuristic.
It was very futuristic.
It was Spy Kids futuristic.
It wasn't quite Star Trek level,
but it was Spy Kids
there was
futuristic.
a lot of glass and chrome. We're not quite there yet.
Yeah, Fat Adam Sandler and glass and chrome. That's not the future we're in right now, which I'm glad. We have Fat Adam Sandler, and that's all we need.
Yeah, we don't need to go any further than that.
Yeah. How would you feel, David, about watching iRobot and pairing it with another movie?
iRobot.
Because I know
it doesn't interest me that much.
Doesn't interest you? What could we pair it with?
I don't know.
Because I think Angie brought up something to me. She's like, "Oh, we could do." I don't want to say it because we might eventually do it, but it was like more popular films, and I'm like, I don't really think we could do that because it's too popular. Like, I'll just say it. Minority Report is what she brought up, and I'm like, I mean, it's not like a super talked about film today. We could throw it in the mix at some point. We just need to find a good pairing with it.
Yeah.
I don't think iRobot is that film, but we could probably find something else.
If we're doing like dystopian,
we should do Metropolis.
Oh yes,
That would be dope.
Metropolis. There we go.
We're talking. Are we talking the original or anime or?
I would say the original.
Yeah, let's do that.
I would say the original because it's a classic, and you know what we pair it with?
Yeah.
2001: A Space Odyssey.
Metropolis in 2001.
Yes.
We'll explore this.
I'll have to make the case for you.
Yeah, we'll have to
make
the case off the air. But I'd be down for that. 2 films about. We'll figure it out. 2 films about something. So, I would like to do iRobot eventually.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
If we find something good to pair it with,
I told
sure,
Angie,
why
I'm
not?
like, can you imagine if we paired iRobot with Transcendence?
Oh my god,
that terrible Johnny Depp movie with oh shoot, who was his like wife in the film? It wasn't Amber Heard. It was the chick that's in the new Godzilla films. I can't remember her name.
Me neither.
Anyway, but yeah, Transcendence. Yo, we could pair like Transcendence with something else and say 2 movies that are just bad.
2 movies that suck.
2 films that suck. We should legit. That could be our like April Fool's Day one. We could do next year. 2 films that suck, and they're The Godfather and. That'd be so funny. We do a mock episode and it's The Godfather and like Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
2 films that suck. And we, through the whole 2 hours or whatever we're doing it, we're like, yeah, God, the cinematography is so last century. Oh my God.
Oh, you know what'd be great is we find legitimate criticisms, but they're like whatever tiny legitimate criticisms that there are, and like blow them up and magnify them and only talk about that stuff.
God, Al Pacino is so dang eccentric, and I really hate him in this film. Oh man, the cinematography is so boring in Citizen Kane. Why is it so slow?
Yeah.
And why is it so pretentious? Oh my God. Anyway, but
yeah, I was gonna say I liked Orson Welles better when he's drunk on champagne. There's a California champagne.
Oh God, I love that. It was so funny in that commercial. Jeez. Oh man. Oh.
Man.
Well, I guess to wrap up our topic, there's one more thing I did want to bring up before. What time are we at? I mean, I don't know.
I think we're getting to, unless we get a fresh burst of energy here, I think we might be getting to the end.
But just to finalize it, I would say, and ask you as well, I think in terms of where the new generation is at and they're experiencing all this stuff, I think it's kind of interesting to see what because we know what we grew up with. And I knew, you know what you grew up with. I know what I grew up with. We were in the transition generation from not really on the internet to on the internet. And now it's like the generation now in terms of Alpha and later Z is like hyperactively on the internet and unhealthy amounts on the internet, which has always been an issue in lots of generations, including in the 90s. But it was different back then because that was just to connect other people with other people. It's kind of similar today, but it's with a much more level of noise that distracts you.
And a much higher level of manipulation.
And a higher level of manipulation. And I think that's probably where I would point and advise people is you really got to put more nuance into the stuff you see on the internet. I know it's really easy to hop on something you agree with or hop on a bandwagon or also hop on some advice you think is just correct. But really look past the flashy editing on some TikToks and Reels and look past some of the enthusiastic hosting that these folks are doing on these videos and really think to yourself, is that really work? Can I really put diesel in my gasoline tank and let it stay, or put some gasoline in my diesel tank and let it stay warm during the winter? Does that really work? It doesn't. No. But there's stuff like that out there where, not to that level, but there's stuff there that is just good enough that you believe it. And that's the most dangerous thing. Like, oh, vinegar and this substance put together. Oh, that's great. That substance and bleach, and you can die from it. So don't breathe that stuff in. But there's stuff like that out there that is just believable enough that people will take it as fact. And I think there's so much misinformation, but I hate using that word because it's so overused, but there's so much misguidance and manipulating happening out there that you really have to take a second and really question the people that are creating that kind of content and really take a second look at it and explore it with more nuance and question it. I think that's the thing is to question it.
I think misinformation's a good word for the stuff that's on the internet.
Yeah.
But it can come from the official channels too.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another aspect that we don't need to get into now, but there's official news and channels and people out there that will report the news.
And it's straight up lies.
Straight up lies. I mean, even from officials that you'll hear in a speech, whether it be left or right, you will hear people just straight up lie. And it's really, it's concerning, but I'm not going to say concerning, but I'm going to say it requires you to really explore your options and really think critically about it is what I would say. And I know that sounds like lame, but that's really how it is. You really got to explore it with more nuance and to really question it and to be like, wow, look at this video of this guy and this homeless dude. It's amazing. Well, it's like, why is there a camera there in the first place? Come on. Like, is it there for clout? Is it there because it's set up? That kind of thing. That's what I'm saying. So I don't know. What advice do you have for the next, I don't know, for people, just anybody out there, not just next generation, but people out there who are, everybody out there who's on the internet.
Don't mindlessly consume would be my advice. Unplug once in a while.
Yes.
And take everything you hear and read on the internet with a grain of salt.
I would also advise is to kind of, and this is really difficult, but it really stood out to me a lot during the fires when I was on them, is being away from all the convenience of your home and your livelihood and just your normalcy that you're used to is a very healthy thing. It helps you reset. It helps you get out of the house. And when people truly say touch grass, I truly believe them. Like, it does make a difference to just disconnect, go exercise, go for a walk, maybe go play with your dog, or go do something. Like, that's not in front of a screen, or just go hang out with somebody or whatever. Like, just disconnecting is so crucial, I think, in a connected generation that, I mean, be thankful you can disconnect now, because will you be able in the future?
Indeed.
I think that's where we're going to leave it. David, do you have any other final words for the Snarp Fangle episode 28? Where can they send their concerns and angry letters to their mom?
Oh, yes. Concerns, angry letters to your mom, and rats about German existentialists can all be sent to snarpfanglepod@gmail.com.
Yes, and we'd love to hear from you any time of the day. Don't text me. I mean, you can text me, but go ahead and text me, but don't text me.
Especially if it's about German existentialists.
Yes, do not text me about German existentialism or any Aryan type rant and send it to our email, please.
Yeah, send all that stuff to me.
Yeah, send it all. We'll take it. Read it live on air. Oh, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for listening to another episode. Mediocrity. Sorry, meritocracy. Thank you.
Yeah, mediocrity is something different.
David, I almost said thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for another episode of Snarp Fangle. And with that, we're going to end it there. Thank you so much for listening, for your feedback and your concerns, as well as just your time with us. We truly appreciate you and all you do for us over here at Snarp Fangle. And all I will say is Snarp Fangle on.
Bye-bye now.